Hey, what's happening, guys? Hope you're having an incredible day. As I look in my background, there is Pebble Beach, hole number 18. I would love to be out there playing. That'd be pretty cool. Well, the topic for today is don't take this personally, or I don't mean anything personal by this. I don't know if you've ever heard those words. I've certainly heard those, and most likely you have as well. I don't know if you've seen the movie Taken, but Liam Neeson's role in that movie is the dad who's out to rescue his daughter, and toward the end, when he's doing the actual rescuing, the guy who had kidnapped her or who was selling her, Liam is shooting him. It's pretty violent, right? So he says it was nothing personal, it was business. And Liam's character says it was personal to me. And so we take things personal because we're sensitive. And we put our heart and soul into something and somebody else didn't appreciate it. I've actually had 3 people in my lifetime ask me for lunch or for dinner or something like that. And when we went out, they said, you know what? I used to not like you. In fact, I've not liked you for years. Well, that's pretty hard not to take personal, right? And, of course, there was nothing that I had done to contribute, not my sarcasm or ill-placed humor. I don't know why they didn't like me. It didn't make any sense. But when it comes to taking things personal, there's a few things that we need to remember and then some steps that we can take. Number one thing to remember when you start to take something personal yourself, when someone says something or does something that gets on your nerves, or they react in a certain way that hurts your feelings, then you've got to be thinking along the lines of, number one, people got problems. We don't know what's going on in their life. We don't know what issue they're dealing with. We don't know if we happen to be the target. Maybe they've had it up to here, and finally we came across their path and it was their opportunity. Because these folks who often make us take things personally are not always those right within our circle. They could be friends, they could be family, but a lot of times they're complete strangers who are reacting to something that we said or we did, and we don't understand why we're getting the brunt of all this. But sometimes they've just got problems, and we need to understand that and give them a little bit of slack and not take it so personal because we don't know what's going on with them. Secondly, some people got mega problems. Right? So this is beyond just the regular problem level. These are people who are unstable. Perhaps they need to be medicated, and therapy would not be a bad idea. I run into these folks all the time. Some people say that I need to be medicated, but that's just another video. So when we're dealing with folks and we start to take something personal because this person seems to be at a higher level of angry or upset or frustrated with us than is normal, then you might want to cut them a little slack because they could be dangerous. Because we don't know not only what problems people have, but we don't know what mega problems they might have. So, hey, be careful out there and sometimes just swallow your pride and don't worry too much about the interaction. And then sometimes, guys, we just do something wrong. Sometimes we blow it. Sometimes we mess up. We don't deliver. We don't carry through with our word, and it makes people mad, and they come back on us, and we deserve it in that instance. And we don't need to take that personal either, because it's something that we just need to take responsibility for, right? And so sometimes we've just got to remember that people got problems, some people got mega problems, and sometimes we just did it. But when it comes to the times in which we feel like we're starting to take things personal, there's a few things that we can do to help alleviate the problem and not get so frustrated and not get so wound up and not allow it to overwhelm us too much. So number one is to respond, not react. Respond, not react. Take a breath, whatever you need to do, whatever you need to quote in order to get yourself centered, whatever that works for you. Usually, for me, it's just kind of a sense of humor. I usually take a lot of people's criticism and feedback as crazy talk. I know that I shouldn't, but I can't help it. I had this guy write me one time, like a 4-page letter. He was so angry at something that I did, and I don't even remember doing it. I'm not even sure that he really meant to write me, because I had no recollection whatsoever of the scenario that this guy was painting. But instead of defending and instead of reacting, I just responded. And here's what I said. Wow, that's a lot of words. And that was it. That's all I said. Wow, that's a lot of words. He came back with a LOL, I'm having a bad day. Well, that was it. I dropped it from there. I didn't worry about it anymore. I didn't try to defend. I didn't try to explain. And I tend to do that in In personal, real close relationships, I tend to get defensive. I try to explain my position. But when it comes to strangers, hey, we don't know what's going on. They don't know us. We don't know them as well. So let's just move on. Let's just respond, but let's not react. It's going to help us a lot. Let's measure, but not manage. We can't always manage the situation. We can't control what they're going to do, what step they're going to take next, what way they may try to destroy us. We don't have any sort of reign on that. Instead, we need to measure it. And we measure it by saying, okay, in the scheme of things, how big is this? Now, to that other person, it could be a 10. But to me, it may be a 2. It's not that big a deal. Okay, so one person out of 100 didn't like it. Big whoop. Okay, so 10 people out of 1,000 weren't crazy about it. Who cares? In the long-term scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. The minority are not the ones that need to be having the say, right? Especially if the minority aren't in relationship. So we need to measure the long-term effect, and we need to measure just how much this actually matters. And again, to them it may matter a lot, but to us it may not need to matter at all. And then finally, number 3, we need to fix and not fixate. If there are some steps that we can take, let's take those steps. Let's just do the best job that we can. Let's try to make amends. Let's try to make it right if it's possible. If not, let's move on. Let's not fixate on it. We don't need to stay up all night thinking about it. We don't need to play scenarios going on and on and on inside our head. We don't need to make up conversations. This is all hypothetical. I know we wouldn't do anything like this. We don't need to make up scenarios. We don't need to write long responses back in our head of what we're going to do and what we're going to say. We don't need to do any of that. We don't need to fixate. We just need to fix. If we can fix it, let's fix it. If we can't, let's move on. There's no reason to stay camped out on that. So when it comes to taking things personal, a lot of us are sensitive. And a lot of us do get hurt rather easily. And a lot of these words that I'm saying aren't as easy to put into practice, right? But that's the key. You've got to practice it. You don't suddenly become a person who just doesn't care. We need to care, but we don't need to fixate. We don't need to manage, and we don't need to react. We need to respond. We need to measure, and we need to fix. Other than that, we can just move on. As always, success is not an accident. Be blessed. Watch out for Liam Neeson out there, man. Dude's dangerous. It's personal to him.